Hello, folks. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to spend another session trying to help each other find and get in touch with all that potential we have within us that we may or may not be aware of or be bringing into our life's experience. So welcome to our Aging and Spirituality podcast. I'm Chris Jensen.
I'm Kathy Lee Taylor. Hello.
We are so happy you're here. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little different. I'm going to talk about dealing with people with aberrant behavior. So, you
We all
know,
have to do it.
we do. Everyone at one time or another has had to deal with some obnoxious or aberrant person, um, maybe at work, maybe in your home. But what do you do when that person has dementia and you're responsible for them?
Mm. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's a challenging thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this today. I'm sure some of you are caregivers who are faced this kind of dilemma. This topic came up for me this week because my daughter is facing it right now. She takes care of her father, my ex-husband, my starter husband, as I like to say. So my daughter also has a 2-year-old son. So as a yogi who's been, working on getting centered and calm for years, I mean, I know things I can do, in this kind of situation to get centered and make decisions, but I'm not a caregiver like she is, and
Right.
for this kind of person. And so I want to share with you what I do in these kinds of situations in hopes that it helps you, or others who are caregivers, but also I'm going to ask you toward the end, um, who are caregivers in an emotionally charged situation, what you do, because I'm not I know what I do to center myself, but I'm not entirely sure that any of these things my daughter can actually do right now because
Mm.
of the emotional state she's in.
Right.
In my situation, in her situation, she's the main caregiver for her dad, who she's had a challenging relationship with for most of her life. As with most people with any kind of dementia, they get a little worse as time goes on. This past week, her dad got into a highly charged, aggressive mode and threatened a close family friend who was in the backyard helping my daughter and her husband get ready for their toddler's 2-year-old birthday party this weekend.
Wow.
He was removing some tree roots. So I happened to be, I was at the park with the baby, and I just happened to be returning, pushing him in the stroller when the incident occurred. And I was able to calm the situation down actually by yelling, "Stop it," at the top of my lungs at the aberrant person. It's literally what I did. I opened the door, pushed the stroller inside the house so the baby wouldn't be totally hearing everything. And I yelled, "Stop it!" And, like you would to a child. And he did stop, at that point. So uh, he, the situation stopped. The other person went down the block, and I was able to calm the situation down somewhat. I mean, he came in and, but then he was in front of the little toddler. He's continuing to, in this highly charged energy, talk about this situation, and I couldn't get him totally calmed down. And
Wow.
so I knew my daughter was the only person he'd really listen to, so I called her. She was in her office downtown at work. And so I called her, and she actually had someone in her office at the time, but she had to deal with it. So she did. She calmed him down. So her dilemma is the same as most caregivers. She cares about her dad and believes that if he were to go into a home, he would probably die. It's also extremely expensive putting someone into a home, a nice place. On the other hand, she doesn't want him going into these aggressive modes with others, particularly around her toddler. So
Mm.
she's an emotional mess over this situation. And uh, knowing her dad as I do, this behavior is somewhat familiar. I've seen, not at this level, but I've seen it many times before. So it was a very stressful situation for me, and I will admit it did stress me out. So I'm going to share with you what I did to stay centered and get centered. And, of course, that it will help you if you're around someone in this kind of situation or you are a caregiver yourself. But then I'm going to ask for something. So,
Okay.
so, here's what I want to quote a very great yogi who lives, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. But he said, he wrote something called the Yoga Sutras, which is a lot of what the higher teachings of yoga are based on. And he said, by cultivating attitudes of friendliness toward the happy, compassion for the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and disregard for the wicked, the mind stuff remains undisturbed. The mind stuff is your mind and emotions. So those are some attitudes that can be helpful. So I thought, okay, disregard for the wicked, because that's the situation here.
Right.
And one of the things is you don't try to reason with this person because they can't. They can't understand reason. So you want to react with a kind of compassionate silence. And of course, if you respond by saying nothing at all, sometimes it sends a powerful message. But you really have to get yourself centered. You have to regain your composure so that you can be of help. I mean, I actually did prayers for this person afterwards for their healing, but I needed to make sure that I was centered because I was thrown by it. You know, it was a really uncomfortable situation. So I did something, this meditation practice. It's a beginning meditation practice. It's extremely effective for getting your, as Patanjali said, getting the mind stuff, the mind and emotions undisturbed from being around this aberrant situation.
Mhm.
And so I am going to share that, and I'm just debating whether I should do it now or uh, no, I'll do it now. We'll do it now.
Yeah.
So this technique, and it's pretty straightforward. You sit with a nice straight spine, and you put your awareness at the base of the spine, and you visualize a light, a white light coming up your spine, and then it stops right behind your heart. And then we're going to pause there, and then we're going to just visualize a pink or white light moving out from your heart, and just let it expand and expand and expand. And you can mentally say love, 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 if that helps keep your mind on it. And then we'll bring this mist, this big, let's just do pink. Let's not do pink or white. Let's just do pink mist, bring it back into the heart. Then this white light comes up your spine, comes into your forehead here, and then it comes above your head here. And then when it gets up there, you just let this ball of, you visualize a ball of white light, and you just let it pour down over your head and all the way down your body. And you can mentally say peace, 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 if that helps keep your mind on it. And then after, you know, I'm not going to stay long, 30 seconds or so, then we'll just bring everything back up here and all the way down the spine. So I'm going to talk us through it, but I just wanted to explain what we're doing beforehand, because the idea is we come up to the heart and we're going to just pause there a little bit, and then we'll pause above the head. And that, both of those places, the mind and emotions, this helps to get you centered and into that undisturbed place so you can be who you truly are, you know, and let that express and be in a stressed out mode. So let's begin. You can close your eyes, sit nice and straight, and visualize a ball of white light at the base of your spine. And this white light moves slowly up your spine, and now it pauses at a point behind your heart. And from the heart, just let this light expand out from your heart like a soft pink mist, and it expands and expands. Just enjoy that expansion. Now bring this, gather this mist back in, all the way back into your heart. And now let this white light continue to move up your spine. It's going to go all the way up your spine, into your head. It moves into your forehead. It pauses briefly there. And now it continues to move up, up above your head, a few inches above your head. And there you can visualize a ball of white light. And now this white light pours down over your head, your brain, your entire being. Just enjoy this light. You can mentally say peace, peace, peace if you like. Your mind may drift, but try to bring your attention back to the white light. And now we're going to gather the light back into that ball above your head. And now bring the light back into the forehead, down your spine, all the way back down to the base of the spine. And open your eyes. It's very relaxing, isn't it?
It's very relaxing for, well, I feel really relaxed and I can't help but wonder because I know nothing about dementia, right? But
Mhm.
so if you are in the same room doing, or maybe not even in the same room, the same house, doing that, if you were directing that energy towards the person who was really agitated, do you think that would calm them down? Have you ever seen any that work?
I don't know. I think it would help. I think the more calming, peaceful energy is there, I think it would help, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This can
What is
work for
happening?
anyone.
Where is their mind when that's happening? Like, what if they're in dementia, they're not in their right mind?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, and the thing is, like trying to help my daughter, she's in the emotional depths of this.
Right.
Um,
Get
it's
her to
hard
do
for her to have the time or the ability to just sit down for a couple minutes and do this. I mean,
it.
I've shared some of these techniques with her, and she knows it helps, but she's just in such a state now. She can't quite settle down, and she's got a lot on her plate. She has a very intense job. She has the baby. She's got all this. So for Mother's Day, she got herself and me gift certificates to get massages. Well, she and her husband got, of course. And so my sneaky little plan is to try to schedule those massages, which should get her settled down, and then share some of the meditation techniques that work for me and try to get her to even do it with me at the spa, just to get her for all she needs is a breakthrough, just a breakthrough. But I was going to ask you for suggestions, and I also want to ask any of our listeners who may have been in this situation. How have you dealt with it? And do you have suggestions how I can
Yeah,
help
I
my
can't
daughter?
offer the listeners a lot because I've never been up close with somebody that has dementia, but I do know that there's stages of dementia. One is cognitive decline, the first stages, and it can be very mild,
Mm,
kind of undetectable. It's like they lose their memory, they have, poor function, they have unusual behaviors. That kind of sounds like the
mm,
stage that he's in. So I would say, and then it goes into, increasing, um, difficulty in work performance, speaking, doing normal tasks, can't
Mhm.
remember anything, it can get really hard for them to concentrate. It's difficult for them to be in social situations, and they start, withdrawing from their family. This is, like in the middle of it. So, and it can get worse from there. So it's like, that's not a fun journey.
Mhm.
So yeah, the best advice you can give somebody like your daughter is to get a handle on herself first.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. And
Make
yeah,
sure she knows how to come out. Like you said,
mhm,
you're like one of the most grounded, centered people I know. And if he threw you out of that, then it's going to be really interesting to see her deal with it, because she's got all the emotional attachment to taking care
right,
of all of that stuff. So, she's going to have to really ground herself and have practices and tools that she can count on when a situation happens. And of course, she needs to know all the practical things that the medical people would tell her, or
right,
anybody
right.
dealing with somebody
Yeah,
that's physically abusive or whatever. So that's a tough situation. That really is.
yeah,
But this
it
stuff can
is.
work. Like that, what you just taught right there was really grounding and really,
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I know that if she could sit down for a couple minutes and do it, it would make a difference. So
you could just get her to do it.
yeah, that's what I got to do right now. I mean, she was meditating before the baby was born, but since he was born, she just doesn't feel like
Well,
she has time to do anything. But I know that she wants to, make the right choices, but she's
and that's the tricky thing, like listeners, one thing is hard to do is teach your kids the things that work for you. They just don't see it the same way you do. And
right,
we're both yogis of kids that, look at us like, well, really? Like,
right, yeah,
I mean, they can see the benefits of what we've done. I'm
right,
sure they're, when they're not around us, they look and they go, well, that's pretty cool what she does. But it's not always their first go-to thing. They
right,
find their ways to deal with it. So
right, right,
and the
yep,
other, you can find a way to ask them
mm,
what would help them, in that situation. Because if they come up with a solution
that's true. You got a good point there.
versus
Yeah,
you telling them what to do,
that's a good point. Yeah.
they will probably blow you off. And oftentimes they'll resort back to stuff that you taught them when they were little.
I know.
Like,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true. That's
so
true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, got them either way.
Right.
But they have to find in the moment what is
Mm,
working for them. Like often Chris will get, like my son's going through something with his work right now, and he'll get really stressed out and hyper, and I'll tell him, get up and just move, just shake your body. Like if
mm,
I tell him to sit down and just do breathing, he just looks at me like, please stop, like don't
mhm,
do that.
mm.
But even yesterday, we were talking on the phone. I said, get off your chair, get your ass out the front door, and just even if you just go up and down the stairs a few times, move your body. You got to get the energy out.
Yeah.
You've got anxiety, you've got anger, you got to get it
You got
out.
to get it out.
I
You've
was
got to get
finally
it out.
able to talk him into doing that. But
Right.
sometimes you
Right.
just have to word it, question in a way, a
Mhm,
question that they get almost tricked into answering.
mhm.
What would be
Right.
the best way for you to deal with what
Right.
is going on with yourself right now? What is the
Mhm,
best way to deal with your father in this situation? What is the best way to calm him down? What is the next thing that I need to do to handle this situation? Just
yeah.
keeping focused on the,
Right.
solution.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. Thank you. That's very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah, and
So
if who's listening, please send comments,
share.
whatever you
Share.
have done, please share with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Send us comments. We'd love to hear. I know it'd be very helpful for me.
Yep, definitely.
So thank you. And I hope this practice we did helps you when you're feeling stressed.
Yep, yep. Remember the exercise, it really
Yep.
calms you. Bye. See you next week.